Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of F1 22 Driver Career Mode here on the channel. We are into the final episodes of this series. Today we have race 4 of 10 in this final season on the way, and that is at Baku. Last season we went to the top step at the podium in Monaco and then went back-to-back in Baku. Will we do the same here today? We'll have to wait and see. Now, of course, everything that kind of needs to work out, very well for that to happen once again. Now, as you can see us touching down in the Baku City area and getting ready to get some on-track action here at this Baku City GP here in Azerbaijan. So, such a fun racetrack to drive. It can be a tricky racetrack, though, of course, as simple as it may seem. A lot of 90-degree corners, left-handers, right-handers, but you got that tight castle section that can really throw a curveball at you at any given point throughout the weekend, practice, qualifying, Grand Prix, you name it. Now here, as you can see myself in free practice 1, getting a little bit of experience under my belt here now, and this is an opportunity, I think a big opportunity for McLaren in general. We have a really quick car in the straight line, and well, it's Baku. You guys know where the strength comes to have a good race here is straight line speed. So definitely think that McLaren Chevrolet have a good opportunity to go to the top step of the podium with one of our drivers this weekend, and preferably myself over Oscar Piastri. But here we were in practice putting some laps down. I was pretty happy with how the car felt in practice. You can see myself a little bit off of my teammate Piastri, but he was on the soft tire while I was on the medium, so things were looking pretty good there. I was focused, of course, though, towards qualifying and hoping that we would put this car, at least I would say in the first 2 rows, would be a realistic expectation here for Baku now. So now a little bit later in the evening on Saturday, ready to strap into this McLaren Chevrolet now and see if myself or Oscar Piastri can put this car on pole position now. As you can see myself actually swapping out a couple of engine parts, the turbocharger as well as the, I don't even know what the top one was, ICE, that's what it was, the ICE internal combustion engine now. So those 2 parts specifically I changed because those reduce your power in the car as they wear, so we would have been slower in a straight line. Q1 was a breeze. We got it through into P8 pretty easy there. Piastri in P3 with Perez and Verstappen, a Red Bull at the top of the board there. 1-2. You can see both the Alfa Romeos, or sorry, Audi Sport F1 cars, and then the Haas cars out in Q1. Haas has really dropped off. Q2 going P5 on my first attempt, and then here we are late in the session, P12, but we had found another half second in it. So Q1 to Q2 really weren't that challenging. Once I was able to put a decent time on the board, we would go breeze through into the top 5 here in Q2. So we were looking pretty good. Piastri cruises as well in, but look how close everybody is. I mean, the top 10 only half a second apart, and look at Leclerc. Charles Leclerc is out, so Leclerc does not make it through into Q3, and I put myself in a one and done scenario here for Q3. We get 1 lap, and that's all we get to try and go for pole position. So it's between, realistically, myself, Oscar Piastri, Max Verstappen, as well as Sergio Perez. So McLaren versus Red Bull, basically showdown here now as we come through towards the end of Sector 2. Now I was pretty happy with how this lap was going. I mean, you see all these apexes being hit pretty well. Everything was just working, but we crossed the line. It wasn't quite pole for myself. P3 is what it's going to be, but it is pole for our teammate of Oscar Piastri, who's been absolutely mega in qualifying. And look how close we are, basically half a tenth, just barely over half a tenth to separate the top 3. And you can see a huge spread, though. Stroll and Norris way behind. But yeah, we start P3 on the grid. Things are looking pretty good going into Baku. Let's head into the Grand Prix.
Good afternoon and welcome from Baku. This was the arena, if you think back to 2017, of one of the most eventful races of modern history, with controversy behind the safety car, last-second overtakes, and a historic podium for Williams and for Lance Stroll. Let's find out what lies in store for us this year. It's time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The Baku City circuit measures roughly 6 kilometers, and it's made up of 20 corners and 2 DRS zones. The circuit winds around the narrow city, through the old town, and even brushes against the city's medieval walls. However, as beautiful as the setting is, this track is also a ferocious technical challenge, where the smallest of mistakes could lead to a catastrophic consequence for any one of our drivers. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Oscar Piastri lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Golden Boy, Russell, Sergio Perez, and Fernando Alonso, Hamilton, Sainz, Stroll, and Lando Norris, Gasly, Albon, Esteban Ocon, and Leclerc, Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher, Kevin Magnussen, and Robert Schwartzman, Latifi, and Guan Yu Zhou. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. It's just about time to go down to the track for the beginning of the race, but before we do, Anthony Davidson, what types of strategy do you think we can expect for today's event?
Well, there's a lot that both the driver and the team have to keep in mind when going into a race. The tyres, fuel, energy recovery systems, the list goes on and on. But I think the key to today's victory will come down to the pit stop strategy. Come in too soon and you might find yourself needing more than one stop. Too late and you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by spending longer on worn tyres.
We're ready to go racing. Then you see Lance Stroll. Look at him in the AlphaTauri as we are ready to go lights out. We're going to be on the hards, so we're doing hards to mediums, and that was a bit surprising to me, but the top 3 are all doing that, so Piastri and Verstappen, and including 2 drivers at the back in the Audi cars. So it's an interesting strategy call, and it won't work well if I lose positions here on the grid.
Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. So as all the cars take their positions on the grid, the teams will be hoping their strategies pay off for them in today's race. The question I'm asking is which teams have got it right, which ones have got it horribly wrong?
All right, you need to be aggressive here. If we lose out to the mediums on the start, it will be very hard to stick with Max and Oscar.
Yeah, 10-4, I'll do what I can. You hear myself on the radio. I mean, we're lined up right behind our teammate of Oscar Piastri, but the goal is simple. We have to hold off the cars on the mediums. Otherwise, it's going to be very challenging to be able to fight with Piastri and Verstappen. They'll probably, quite simply, drive away. Well, it's the moment of truth. Our whole Grand Prix with this strategy is right here on the line down towards turn 1. We're racing and it's already terrible. Russell gets away. Well, Verstappen's up the inside of Piastri, and we even get done over by Alonso into turn 1. We had a run in with him at the end of Monaco in the last episode, but we're already in big trouble there. We're up the inside of Fernando now, the Spaniard on the outside right there against the barriers. We're going to be side by side down this back straightaway, but you can already see the damage done as now we're going to be 3 wide. Here comes Sergio Perez on the medium tires as he's going to lunge it up the inside into turn 4, and oh good heavens, we got close there, turn 3, sorry, but we get ahead of both Alonso and Perez. But like I said, as you see some contact there, the damage is done. We could not risk or afford to lose out to the drivers on the mediums, and we lost out at least to George Russell, who's ahead of us, but we also got ourselves involved in that battle with Alonso in a 3-wide battle with him and Perez. Now Russell is going to have more pace on those medium tires, and I'm going to have a really tough time getting into the DRS and probably have a tough time getting back to Piastri and Verstappen, and I'm a little bit scared at this point that they're going to be able to have an opportunity to drive away basically here now. I mean, look at the gap. It's already almost 3 seconds between myself and the Red Bull of Verstappen. Perez on those mediums as well. Well, it wasn't game over. We're coming to the end of this first lap, and here he goes. He's going to blow past me. I was already draining my battery trying to stay ahead, and I couldn't anymore. And he's going to breeze past in the turn 1. So wow, this is certainly not the start I had in mind after a great qualifying effort of P3, down now to the 5th position here in Azerbaijan, and Perez is driving away early on as well as I'm under pressure from Fernando Alonso in the Alpine.
Perez, they've got an issue with their car, they're going to be slow.
Well, there you have that. Sergio Perez with an issue with his car, so that's going to at least get us back with an opportunity to go for 4th place. Now battles happening around this circuit as well. That's Mick Schumacher going at it with the AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly, who's going to move forward, and actually Alex Albon's now scrapping it out in the background right there. Didn't quite have much though for Mick Schumacher. I myself, well, I was about to make that overtake now on Perez here a lap later, and we're going to breeze around the outside. He's going to stick his nose still at the inside in turn 3, but doesn't actually have anything to show for it now. Perez is going to have a really rough Grand Prix now because he moved through into 4th place, but now he is going to continue to go backwards. Fernando Alonso was able to get past him and try to stick with me now, but I was 5 seconds behind Verstappen, who was nearly a second behind Piastri. So it's telling you the pace difference right now. Piastri is absolutely on it now, but you can see Perez under attack now from Lando Norris, who's having a great race. Well, Norris completes the pass. Carlos Sainz now I would expect to have an opportunity the next straightaway, and sure enough, here we are down the front stretch, and he is going to be able to move himself now into P7. So Perez went from fighting for 4th, now down to 8th place, and I don't think it's quite over yet for Perez, because look at this battle right here. Now he has a terrible line into turn 2. What are you doing there, Sergio? And that's going to open the door wide open for Sainz to drive away, and Hamilton to now lunge at him now around the right side. And don't even count out the AlphaTauri of Lance Stroll and his teammate of Pierre Gasly. They're right here on this battle as well, but you can see through goes Hamilton into now 8th place. Now a big send right there. Gasly's going for the 2-for-1 special, doesn't quite get it there as he would make that contact and settle in, but I myself focus back in. I mean, we're going to cut straight through to lap 8 at this point here, and you can see 6.1 seconds behind Verstappen, 3.9 behind Russell, and I was hoping that the mediums would start to fall off a little bit here and my hards would, you know, start to be able to reel in George. I was definitely regretting strategy decisions and at the same time questioning where the pace had gone. In qualifying, we were only half a tenth of a second off pole, and now here we are, lap 13, seeing George Russell come into the pits on those mediums. Pit window's open now. I mean, we're only doing an extra lap longer on the hards, but you can see Verstappen has actually come in on the hards as well. So basically, Russell did the same amount of laps on mediums that Verstappen did on hards. So, I mean, I don't know. This strategy just doesn't seem to be doing much for us, at least here. It's worked out for Piastri and Verstappen, that's for sure. This is myself now coming in as well to put on that set of mediums. So this is going to take us to the end. We're going to come out behind George Russell, who's going to be flying through right about now. He goes through down into turn 1, and we are going to have that tire advantage that should allow us to at least get back onto the podium, but still, like I said, confused about where the pace was in this car. And even when I ran a completely perfect lap, I was still losing a couple of tenths of a second, at least to Piastri and Verstappen now, and we're going to see Piastri pitted a lap later than Max. Well, he maintained the lead. I believe he will, because he exits the pit lane, and yes, it looks like it's not even going to be close. Now, Verstappen might be within DRS range. He might get one shot at him, but not by doing that. What in the world? Verstappen takes a terrible line and takes his chances completely away of going for that overtake on Oscar Piastri now. So we focus back in on ourselves, and we're 2.2 seconds behind George Russell. Fortunately, that gap significantly decreasing between myself and George Russell here. Yellow flags for Robert Schwartzman in the first sector. He was out of the Grand Prix with a mechanical failure, so that Audi Sport F1 driver done and dusted for the day. But we continue to close in on the back of George Russell up to the start of lap 20. We're going to slip one up the inside of Russell down into turn 1 with that DRS advantage, and not even a contest there. So we move up into 3rd place, but still, I mean, I was having a really frustrating time in this Grand Prix. We were running good laps, consistent laps. I wasn't making many mistakes in this Grand Prix. It just, nothing seemed to work in terms of pace. It's turned it into a pretty quick Grand Prix, however, because I was kind of on an island of my own a lot, and unfortunately this is race 4 of 10 in this final season of this career mode, meaning that we have a really short season, so every race is so crucial. We had the mechanical failure in race 1 where we were looking like we were going to start the season with a victory, and ever since then things have just been a bit rocky. Australia, we had issues that were our own issues that we did to ourselves, aside from the starting tire situation. Monaco, we did it to ourselves. Today we just struggled on pace. Nothing went wrong today. The pace just wasn't wasn't there. Final lap of this Grand Prix underway here in Baku. Like I said, it was pretty quick. Not a lot happened in this Grand Prix. It was pretty straightforward, and it was Oscar Piastri who picked up the win recently back in the season opener. It's been Max Verstappen the last two, but today Piastri gets his second win in Formula 1 and continues to outpace me in the same car, which is not something we're used to. We are used to being the quickest on the team. Piastri, the only time that he was genuinely slower than me was in the race in Jeddah. Other than that, I mean, I have had, it feels like nothing for this guy. Australia was relatively close, but P3 is what we have to settle for here in Azerbaijan. Let's go to the podium. Celebrations. Mick Schumacher, driver of the day.
And so ends another Azerbaijan Grand Prix. A fascinating race and a well-deserved victory. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
It is great that we're certainly able to find success as a team, and I gotta say, we're not out of this by any means yet, but Piastri and Verstappen are setting such an incredible pace and form right now that it is going to be very hard. That one mechanical failure back in Jeddah might make all the difference come the end of the season, but we still have a lot of racing to go. It's 6 races is all that's left. Doesn't sound like a lot, but we do know a lot can happen in 6 races here in an F1 22 game. So I'm not concerned yet, and what I'm actually really excited for is the next episode is my home Grand Prix in Canada, and I don't think I'm any more confident anywhere else than my home Grand Prix. I think we're going to have a legitimate shot to go to Canada. I'm going to call my shot unless the engine fails, something breaks on the car, knock on wood and hope it don't happen. We are going to go and step it up and win the Canadian Grand Prix to kick off our first win of the season. We need that because we're 53 points out right now off Verstappen. Oscar Piastri 5 points back. But I'm going to call my shot. We're going to go win the Canadian Grand Prix as long as the engine doesn't fail. If we don't, that'd be a bit awkward. But McLaren behind by 6 points as it's turning into that Red Bull versus McLaren battle in this final season. I'll see you guys in the next one in Canada. Have a great day, everybody.